Have you heard of the Glico Man in Japan? If you've ever visited Osaka or plan to, you probably would have. It's one of the city's most famous landmarks, a giant neon sign in the Dotonbori district showing a man mid-stride on a blue tracksuit, arms raised in victory. Tourists would flock there for selfies, they would mimic his pose and take pictures. It's cheerful, it's bright, and it's iconic to Japan. He's been glowing above the canal for nearly a century as a symbol of energy, optimism, and one of Japan's most beloved candy company, Ezaki Glico. But behind that glowing smile is a much darker story. Because in 1984, Glico wasn't celebrating. Its president had been kidnapped, threat letters began arriving like clockwork, supermarkets pulled candy from their shelves, parents warned their children not to touch anything with colorful wrappers. And just when fear couldn't get any worse, the group behind it all turned their attention to other confectionery giants, Morinaga, Marudai, House Foods, and no company was safe. These people called themselves the Monster with 21 Faces, and for over a year, they terrorized Japan with threats of poison candy, factory fires, and relentless taunts, mocking the police with every single move. They didn't want money. They wanted control, they wanted fear and chaos in Japan, and then they vanished. And so people are asking questions, has it been or was it a criminal syndicate, a rogue insider, an ex-police officer with a grudge, or just someone trying to prove that even a country as orderly as Japan could be turned upside down? This is the case of the Monster with 21 Faces, a name, a shadow, and a story Japan has never fully solved. Content warning. This video includes description of violence, murder, death, rituals, and other supernatural content. Listener discretion is advised, as some stories may be unsettling or sensitive to certain audiences. Turn down the lights, snuggle up tight, and get ready for another Talk Tale. What happens when the line between fact and folklore blurs? Welcome to Talk Tales, where urban legends meet true crime and myths aren't always just stories. My name is Afrina, your host for the episode.
And my name is Tiski.
And today, I'm bringing you into the past to give you a story that not many outside of Japan would know of the shining and bright Glico Man of Osaka. A kidnapping and a blackmail case called the Glico Morinaga case is one of the most notorious mysteries in Japan's modern history. A mysterious entity called themselves the Monster with 21 Faces came out to claim that these were their doings. They threatened to poison Japanese candies, and they did. For a year and a half in the 1980s, the elusive group terrorized two big Japanese companies, Ezaki Glico and Morinaga, as well as other food companies. They demanded ransoms, they kidnapped executives, and even slipped boxes of cyanide-laced candy into supermarkets. And as sudden as it started, it stopped. He or they were never found, never caught, but the damage had been done. The Monster with 21 Faces had slashed companies' profits, terrified the whole entire nation, and frustrated the police. But let's rewind time a bit and see how exactly it happened, and if you and I can figure out exactly why, in our own Talk Tale signature. Do you know any Glico snacks?
Yeah.
Pocky. Yeah.
That's the most famous one, right?
It's very famous. So if anyone doesn't know, Pocky is like these chocolate sticks, or now there's like a lot of flavors.
Yeah.
But on March 18, 1984, Glico was thrown into the spotlight not for their famous Pocky sensation, but for an entirely different reason. That night, two armed and masked men broke into the home of Katsuhisa Ezaki, the president of Glico, and finding his wife and daughter first, they moved quickly to tie the two women up and walk through the house to find their target victim, the president. And get this, they were even able to tie up the president's mother who stayed in the house beside his house.
Oh my god.
Ezaki at this point was soaking in his bathtub where they found him, and they dragged him out still naked and wet. His wife, completely distraught, worried that something was going to happen to her husband, started shouting about the amounts of money they thought they wanted. "Just tell me how much, I'll pay you, leave my husband alone." But they said, "Be quiet. money is irrelevant. They tied him up, they gagged him, and forced the still naked Ezaki into the car waiting outside. They essentially kidnapped him. They pulled up to a warehouse near a river in Ibaraki where Ezaki was kept for 3 whole days. The kidnappers then made their demands to his company and the police despite telling his wife that previously money didn't matter. Now they asked an amount that had been the largest ransom ever demanded in Japan. They asked for 1 billion yen.
Wow.
Which is almost 11 million in today's dollars.
Oh my god.
And not just the money, they asked for 220 pounds of gold bullion.
Oh,
Crazy. And
but
they,
the question is whether the president's family have that amount of money.
yeah. The company, I'm not sure if they ever made that much. They called themselves, this group, the Monster with 21 Faces. But just as this company is scrambling to prepare the ransom money to secure his safety that he was back home with his family, 65 hours after his kidnapping, Ezaki managed to escape. So they didn't have to pay anything for his ransom. And ultimately, it would go unpaid, but his nightmare didn't stop there. Actually, it had just begun. In a country where only 27 kidnappings were reported in the previous year of 1983, can you imagine the national shockwave that hit Japan? Like, this is a crazy case. In that year, the National Police Agency had solved 97% of all murders, earning them the admiration and the envy of police forces all over the world. But this monster had really given the police a run for their money. In April 1984, a few weeks after the kidnapping, an attack was made. Glico's company cars at their factory were set on fire. And on 8th April of the same year, one of the first taunting letters is sent to the Osaka media and police, laced with sarcasm and a few helpful tips that they gave to try to catch them. The hints include the color of their car, which is grey, and where they bought their food, Daiei Supermarket, which is a large chain supermarket, adding that this information should be enough to catch them. They're a crazy group.
Yeah.
They're like taunting the police, like, you can't catch us, here's some tips. They even said in their letter, "To the police fools, are you all stupid? What the hell are you doing with all the manpower?" And as if that wasn't enough, they ended that same letter with, "You know what? Shall we kidnap the head of the prefectural police too?"
Oh my god.
Like, it's mocking them. It's straight up mocking them. And in the same month, someone sent the company a container of hydrochloric acid as if to say, "Hey, I'm gonna start poisoning everybody in the damn country." And that's when the letter of their poisoning threat came in. In May of 1984, they sent a letter addressed to the president of Glico, Ezaki, claiming that they had laced the company's candies with potassium cyanide soda. After the monster had made this threat, the police found CCTV footage of someone changing up the products in the supermarket. It was a footage of a man wearing a Yomiuri Giants baseball cap that was caught placing Glico chocolates on a store shelf by a security camera. They were replacing the products. The man was believed to be behind the monster with 21 faces. So scrambling, the police has now found something. They made the footage public to find this man. And at the same time, supermarket chains and retailers, they started panicking. They made a decision of forcing Glico to pull their products off the shelves. They said, "We're not going to sell your products anymore." And that resulted in a 130 million loss in sales and the layoff of 1,000 part-time workers for Glico. They couldn't sell their candies anymore. I mean, I would not let my child go and buy.
Me too.
But you know what? The funny thing is, no traces of cyanide were ever found in Glico's products.
So they just create a massive chaos just for nothing.
So I don't know what they changed. Maybe they just changed random stuff. And as if that wasn't embarrassing enough that they were playing with every single person in Japan, they continued to send letters. And one of the letters said, "Why are you complaining? You guys are having such a hard time, so I will give you a hint. I entered the factory from the side staff entrance. The typewriter that we used is a pan writer, and it's written PAN writer. The plastic container used was a piece of street garbage." So it's like they're playing with the police. They're telling them, "You're so dumb. Like, these are all the tips I'm giving you, and you still can't catch me. It sounds like straight from a Detective Conan episode.
It's like a fictional
Yeah.
stories, but it's real.
By June, 3 months from the first kidnapping, they sent another letter that heard a breath of relief from the president of Glico Ezaki. It said, "The president of Glico has already gone around with his head hanging down long enough. In our group, there's a 4-year-old kid. Every day he cries to eat the Glico chocolate. It's a drag to make a kid cry because he's deprived of the candy he loves. Signed, Monster with 21 faces."
What the fuck? Oh my god. So
It's
like
crazy.
they're playing around with people's life, with people's trauma, feeling, and then like businesses that actually lay off a lot of people.
And just as everyone thought the nightmare had stopped, the gang hadn't actually given up. Instead, they focused on another candy company. Their next target were Morinaga, another candy company, and food companies like Marudai Ham, House Food Corporation, and Fujiya being sent similar threatening letters and attacks using the same name. In September 1984, the monster demanded money from the Morinaga Candy Company. But Morinaga refused to comply. They said, "I'm not gonna give you any single cent of the money." And they got mad and they sent out another threatening letter of poisoning their food. Again, they said, "We have added some special flavor. The flavor of potassium cyanide is actually a little bitter." They said that they left 20 boxes in stores from Hakata to Tokyo filled with cyanide-laced candy. But don't worry, they're not here to kill anyone, I guess, because they said they left a note in the boxes that they put. And sure enough, police found boxes of poison candy in packages all over Japan of Morinaga choco balls and angel pies with a sticker on top of the box. It said, "Danger, contains poison. You'll die if you eat this. The mystery man with 21 faces." And after the police found these 20 boxes, they sent another letter that said there would not be any such labels next time. They're just gonna start poisoning people.
I just cannot understand what's their motive.
I don't know. Nobody knows what their motive is. In February of 1985, the next year, they found even more tampered confections, making it a total of 21 lethal sweet products. But I thought they said 20 in the letter. But the police found 21. In the end of this whole nightmare, Morinaga was forced to reduce their productions by 90%. The monster, they were so proud of what they were able to achieve, and I guess they were mad that Morinaga had refused to give them the money previously. They tried again. They said that in order to stop the threats and the harassment to Morinaga, one of their employees would need to meet the monster and hand him some money. So they're trying again. They said, "You see what happens if you don't give me money? Now you give me money." So that's what happened. But that employee was actually a detective in disguise, and he did meet the suspect on a train. He described the man as well-built, hair cut short and permed, with eyes like those of a fox, which branded him the name Fox Eye Man. After dropping the ransom as instructed, the detective and another investigator attempted to follow him to see where he was going, but they lost him. And that's not the only time they lost him, because there would be another second time to catch them later, but they lost him again. And this has caused tremendous stress to the police force. For a country that had a 97% of solve rate for murders, this case had brought them a lot of frustration, stress, shame, and to top it off, they faced a lot of public anger and backlash.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's been months. Like, they can't catch them. Because of the continuing harassment towards the police, in August 1985, Police Superintendent Yamamoto committed suicide by walking into his backyard, dousing himself in kerosene oil and setting himself on fire due to being ashamed of his failure to capture the fox-eyed man, because he's the police that lost the suspect. But after this had gone to the news, the monster with 21 faces, honestly, I feel like they have no empathy whatsoever. 5 days after his suicide, they sent a letter that said, "Yamamoto of Shiga Prefecture Police died. How stupid of him. We have got no friends or secret hiding place in Shiga. It's Yoshino or Shikata who should have died. What have they been doing for as long as 1 year and 5 months? Don't let bad guys like us get away with it. There are many fools who want to copy us. No career, Yamamoto died like a man, so we decided to give our condolences. We decided to forget about torturing food-making companies. If anyone blackmails any of the food-making companies, it's not us, but it's someone copying us. We are bad guys. That means we've got more to do other than bullying food companies. It's fun to lead a bad man's life. Signed, Monster with 21 Faces.
It's like, the typical kind of villain in the fictional story.
Yeah, it's so mocking. And that was their farewell letter, because after that, the Monster with 21 Faces was never heard from again. 1 year and 5 months of terrorizing and then just disappeared. While it hasn't been solved, I did rake my brain and I wanted to know in detail what theories people had come out with and what suspects the police found. And my first thought was the name. Why the Monster with 21 Faces?
21, maybe there are
21 people. That's my first thought. I was like, maybe there's 21 people. Maybe that's a clue. But a lot of the articles that I read said that apparently there was a detective book, and in there's a character named Fiend with 20 Faces. But this one is Monster with 21 Faces. So it's like, why 21? Never know. Now the police, even though they didn't catch any of them, they interviewed 125,000 suspects. And they ranged from all sorts of people. Now, the first popular story was that it was an inside job by disgruntled or frustrated Glico employees. This was because the letters included specific product details and insider language. They knew the company logistics well, and after Ezaki escaped, they never asked for the ransom money from him ever again. They just went and terrorized people and stuff. But if it was the employees of Glico, why did they target other candy companies? And the second theory is that Yakuza.
Yeah.
Japan has a lot of Yakuza
Even
gangs.
until now, right?
Until now, and organizations. So a common Yakuza tactic is that they use fake ransom drops, and the way they did it was so professional that only a well-resourced coordinated group could evade law enforcement so well for so long. But the tone of the letters proved it to be different, because the letters felt like playful. They were mocking the police and something not typical of Yakuza extortion. Yakuza is more profit-driven and they're more direct. They usually get what they want. So the police said maybe it's not Yakuza. And then another theory came out. Is the fox-eyed man, the one that evaded capture. They said that he could have been the mastermind who orchestrated everything because he had been spotted at multiple ransom drops. He was calm and he was really confident. He could have led a small group with military or police training and stuff because they couldn't catch him. Now there's a fourth theory, is a political group. The Monster was an ideological group aiming to destabilize trust in corporations and police. Felt like they were just trying to make chaos, right? They often mocked Japan's image of order, the failures of the police, and no money was actually ever taken.
Yeah, and no lives.
Only
Except
the suicide.
For the police.
Yeah. No lives, no money. Is like, what's going on,
Yeah.
And they quoted Sherlock Holmes and other literary figures in their letters.
Wow.
They felt like they were just this villain. Their psychological warfare tactics were more about chaos and shame rather than trying to get money, which is why the police thought maybe it's a political group in Japan, but no political demands were ever made. So the police well, maybe not, because politics need to have an agenda, right? And another side small theory was that they were stock manipulators, because at the time there was money to be made in the drastic plunge of Morinaga stock. If you have insider news, you could buy it when it's low and then sell it when it's high. So maybe it's a whole ruse just to buy stocks. But isn't that too much?
That's too much.
That's too much, right? And then some people even said maybe it's North Korean secret agents or the president of Glico. But after all these suspects, after interviewing 125,000 people, in the end, it was never solved. No fingerprints, no DNA, the letters were typewritten, and the fox-eyed man vanished completely. But by the end of the Reign of Terror, no one was poisoned, no money was taken, but a life of a police officer was taken. And that's the story of the Monster with 21 Faces. Now, I wonder which theory you guys are leaning towards, and if there's any more information that you know that I haven't shared, just leave it in the comments. And isn't it straight out of a detective book?
Yeah.
It's crazy interesting. But I don't think it was interesting to live in that time. I would be terrified.
Me too.
Now, that's all for our episode today, and if you're someone who loves creepy stories based on legends, just tune in for episodes in English with me as your host, and episodes in Indonesian with Diski as your host on Tuesdays, and I'm on Fridays on all podcasting platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and everything else. That's all. Bye-bye.
Bye.